how can you get your team to run your small business for you so that you no longer feel stuck and that you can see a vision where this business that you're proud of isn't reliant on you and weighing down on your shoulders? So my focus in business is to help business owners like you actually enjoy your business and make it work for you. And one of the common things that I see, that I made my own mistakes with, and that I see from the business owners that I work with, is that very people-driven business owners like you prioritize everybody in the business other than yourself. And at the beginning, this feels noble and it feels good and it makes you feel proud. But what happens in the long run is this actually leads to you feeling tired and burnt out and not seeing how you can actually escape from or feel free from the business, because the business is hard work, right? So what we're going to go through today is, number one, why this is common, and then number two, how we can fix it and start to actually set the business up so that the team will run it for us in a way that they enjoy and motivates them and that you feel proud of. And I'm going to give you 4 key tips to make that happen. The first thing that we need to accept is that this happens a lot. So if you're feeling a bit trapped in your business and a bit weighed down by it and a bit fed up, that's very normal, okay? And it's normal because of human psychology. And the business owners that I tend to work with tend to be the ones that are very people focused. And what this leads to is them neglecting themselves, but not everybody else. So let me help you get this really clear in your head. So in any business, there are 4 key factions, and each one of these factions needs to be cared for in order for the business to thrive long term. And what we tend to see, especially probably you watching this video, is that the people driven business owner will neglect themselves. So you've got the business owner, that's one of the factions, and what they do is they put in drive, the money to start the thing up, they oversee it, they put the quality in place, all of these things. So they're the drivers of the vision. So they put in all the vision, inspiration, and potentially money, and what they take out of that is hopefully retirement, decent funds, a good work-life balance, and satisfying work. But we tend to neglect that. Then we've got over here, then we've got the business itself, and the business needs to make profits. And when it makes profits, or at least makes the baseline amount of money, then it can pay people's wages, it can grow, it can pay its taxes, cover its liabilities. Then we've got the customer. So the customer obviously receives a solution to a problem or a service or some kind of pleasure from the business, normally a solution to a problem. And what they do is they put in funds, and they also bring in referrals, of course. And then finally, we've got the team, right? And the team puts in the service, delivers the systems, makes the business grow, looks after the customers, and what they take from the business is wages, but what they deliver is the service that brings the money in. So we need all 4 of those things, and you can see that in any business. But what I tend to see the business owners that I work with is that they neglect themselves. So if you're not looking after your health, if you're feeling stressed more often than not because of your business, if you're working overtime, if you're still picking up all of the issues that arise, you're probably one of these business owners. Also, another sign of this is that your team love you. So your team really care about you, your customers like you, but you feel a bit trapped in the business. You're probably a people-driven business owner who's neglecting the business owner side of it, maybe even the business side of it as well, the profit side of it, to look after the customers and your team. Again, this might make you feel good, but it's not good for the business in the long run. So if we can start being more sensibly selfish and making the business work for us, everybody's going to benefit, because what it forces us to do is start thinking about systems, start thinking about scale, start thinking about processes. Now, you probably don't get excited by these because you're a people-driven business owner and you like the people aspect of it. But what you have to recognize is that by putting systems and processes in place, you empower your team to do things without you. So you free yourself, you empower your team, and you open up the possibility for your business to positively influence more people. If you're stuck in the business and you're doing everything yourself still, you're doing a lot yourself, and that's making you feel trapped, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong as such. What it means is your body and the pain you're feeling is telling you it's time to change. This approach has got you to a certain level. It's established a business. You've built a team. You've put a new service out there. You've got customers, but you can't scale anymore. And what you're getting is growing pains. And when you start to feel uncomfortable, that's not something saying, right, you've messed this up. That's the universe, if you want, telling you, right, now it's time to try a different approach. And that's going to feel uncomfortable at the beginning, but it's what needs to happen. So pain, people tend to think pain is a bad thing, but pain is a warning sign or a sign to say, right, something's going wrong, you need to adapt. And when you're starting to feel trapped in your business, that's the universe telling you, right, this thing wants to be bigger than you now. And no, you don't need to be the next Apple, but you do need to put systems in place to empower your team to reach more customers and free yourself from the business. What we also need to be careful of is being comfortably uncomfortable. So often, and I did this for 3 years, we don't like it the way it is. We're stuck in the business. We're still doing too much. We're still working too many hours. We're still not paying ourselves as much as we should really for the work that we put in it. We're still feeling trapped. but it's easier to just complain about it and carry on doing it than it is to take the risks and do the new things that we know need to happen. And this is what leads to business owners getting burnt out, right? It's that being comfortably uncomfortable for too long. We know we need to scale, we know we need to systemize, but we don't want to take the risk because we work in sprints and we've grafted really hard for a few years and we don't feel like we're ready to just try something new and take all that risk again. But you've got to do it. Otherwise, the thing that you're scared of happening, which is something might go wrong, will definitely happen if you stay in the position you're in for too long. Okay, so there's the mindset piece. Hopefully that's resonated with you and you thought, yeah, that's me. I recognize that. I know that I need to start changing my way of doing things. If you don't get the mindset piece right at the beginning, then you're just going to stay stuck in that position where you're uncomfortable, which will eventually lead to you being resentful and closing down the business. So we need this business to work for you. So what we need to do is we need to put 4 things in place to make this change happen, to shift you away from feeling trapped by your business to you feeling empowered and your team feeling empowered and you feeling like you can step away and actually have this proper business that works for you, right? And that pays you even when you're not there and makes your team happier because you're trusting them to run it for you. So the first thing that you've got to do, point 1, whatever we want to go with, is you've got to get clear on your vision again, and you've got to put an exciting vision in place because this is going to motivate you and it's going to motivate your team and it's going to motivate your clients. You don't need to create the next Apple. You might be in quite a boring industry. Typical, these service businesses that get stuck, we tend to be in accountancy, in cleaning, in different finance areas, any of these basic services that are really important. This is where we can lose our vision because we feel like we're a commodity. And that's what we've got to make sure that we're not. So we need to get realigned to a vision again. What makes us unique? How are we going to grow? How are we going to help customers in our own unique way? What's the brand? We've got to dial into that. And this video today isn't to go into the specifics of how to do that. But what I want to say to you is, if you don't feel proud of your business, you don't feel excited by it, you've probably turned into commodity mindset. You're probably telling yourself the story that, we're just an accountant. I had a gym. We're just a gym like any other gym, and we can't charge more, and it's not that exciting. We can't see how we can grow. All of this stuff, right? And that's because you've lost your vision and your excitement. So try to go back to what excited you at the start. You started this business for a reason. Probably you thought you rightly so believe that you could do it better, that you could change the industry, that you could provide better levels of care or support or service. So reconnect with that and have some faith. You've got to get back in line with what makes you unique, because it's having the confidence to lay your shield down and say, this is what makes us unique. It's having the confidence to do that will enable your business to grow. So if you've got stuck in commodity mindset and you think we're just the same as everybody else, you're not. You've got to work on that first. What's going to make us unique? What's the excitement for the future? If you do this, it'll motivate you to start taking action again, and it will motivate your team because it gives them something to do other than just the day job. Once we've done that then, and we've got clear on who we want to be and who we want to become, what we've got to put in place next is a goal setting framework. And I know that sounds very cliche, but it has to be there, right? And my favorite is OKR, objectives, key results. And you've got to systemize objective key results. And that is once a year, getting really clear on what we're going to achieve this year, and then putting some specific results below it. Every quarter, you break that down into quarterlies and you get your team to do that with you. Now, what most business owners fear here is stressing out their team, maybe setting goals that you don't achieve, and just creating stress, even for themselves. Because as soon as we start thinking about setting goals, the fear of failure creeps in, not only for you, but for your teams as well. And I've actually worked with and interviewed some really good business owners who don't do this, right? Okay, so they say, well, we don't do it because we're driving the action and the team are super motivated. And if we set goals, we might not achieve them. Whereas actually, if we just drive forwards, it's going to be good. Whilst I'm inspired by that, the challenge is that's still reliant on the business owner being there. So if you still want to be in your business every day and you're happy to do that, which means you can't go away for 6 months or whatever it might be, then you don't need to do this, right? You can just be there every day driving the action forwards. But if you're getting to the point where you're thinking that you want to focus on something else, or you'd like to step away a bit and give your team more freedom, you've got to do this. It's as simple as that. And the reason that you've got to set objectives is because, and put a system in place for objectives, is because we'll set a vision which excites us and excites our team, okay? And we all get motivated by a vision. But then after that comes the action we need to take to move towards that vision. And that's when all of our fears come into place, and our fear of failure and lack of self-belief, all of this stuff comes to play then. And if we don't put clear objectives with clear key results in place, what we'll all do, myself included, you and your team, is we'll revert to just doing what we're already doing, what we know is working, because that doesn't bring with it the risk and the fear of failure. And the problem with that is that even when we do that, even that makes us feel more comfortable in the short term, in the medium to long run, your team actually feel unfulfilled. You feel unfulfilled because things aren't growing, things aren't improving, and the very thing that we were trying to avoid actually happens. We end up feeling unhappy and not very growth in our business. So you've got to put a system in place for objectives, key results. I'd highly recommend reading Measure What Matters by John Doerr if you want to geek out on that more, or listen to the rest of our podcast because we do some really good stuff on this. But you've got to get the art of setting objectives down because that's what motivates people. And the great business is one where people feel motivated and inspired, not one where people feel comfortable and bored. The next piece then is having a cadence commitment. So you've got to systemize when your team are meeting. And if you don't do this, why do we do this? First of all, when we do this, it helps us focus on what's important. It helps us review, helps us see what's going well, what's going wrong, and it helps us constantly improve. So we review, we implement, then we get back together, we see what went well, what went wrong, we think about doing things in a new way, and we go through these constant cycles of improvement. You've got to do that. Now, if you don't do that, here's what happens. The teams stop meeting, everybody's busy being busy, people get resentful because they don't feel like the right things are being done or the teams aren't working together properly, and the business doesn't grow anywhere near the way it should, and people are way busier than they should be. If you do get your teams together and put a system in place for meeting, you'll constantly innovate, you'll constantly get better, people can get more done whilst doing less, so they've got good work-life balance, and your business will innovate and stand out in the market as being unique. 100 years ago, you could get away with not doing that. In today's day and age, you can't because things change so rapidly. So you've got to have a cadence commitment. I recommend that at least once a quarter, you have a full day together strategy with the leadership team. Should do that. The guys that are more strategic, they should then do that with their teams once a quarter so the team know what's going on and get to plan. And then once a week, you should do a 90-minute meeting to review and analyze. So that's what I would say is the bare minimum. Once a year, you should have a 2 days, get together, full leadership team. If you're a small business, full team, what went well, what went wrong, what's the focus for next year. So that's the kind of minimum, so you don't even have to think about it, the minimum kind of cadence that you need in place. And then point 4, the fourth letter in the alphabet, D, is to empower and trust. Now, this is probably the biggest, most challenging part for a business owner, a small business owner. Give your team the responsibilities, help them set key results and objectives, and let them do it and step away. Now, that sounds easy, and I know this because I went through the same challenge myself and made all of these mistakes myself. You don't want to do it because you think, if I step away and start giving my team responsibility, they're going to get stressed and they're going to make mistakes because they're not as good as me and doing the way things in the unique way that I like to do them. And my customers are going to leave because they all want me. Now, while you can logically argue for all of those things and make a rational argument for them, it's a really flawed way of thinking, because if you believe that, none of this is going to work. If you believe that your team can't do it and you're the only one that can do it the way you do it, then you're always going to be stuck in your business. You haven't got a business, you've got a job. If you believe that your customers only want you, then you're limiting how many people that your unique way of thinking can help, because you can only help so many people. And I guarantee you, although you think you're protecting your team, you're actually disempowering them and making them, in the long run, unhappy and unfulfilled. So we've got to go through this mindset shift here. And this is probably the hardest one, but it's the most important one. So a couple of tips to help you achieve this. Number one, stop worrying about perfectionism. Okay, your customers don't want everything to be perfect. What you think is acceptable is probably 30% higher than what people actually need. So start settling for 80% good enough. If you can train people to do what you do to 80% of your standard, your customers will still be happy with that. Communicate it to your customers in the right way, that you're stepping away, and maybe some will leave, but more will stay, and you'll attract more people through these new systems that you implement. So it's just a simple, coherent message. You cannot deliver all these services anymore, but your team that you trust in and that you've trained and that deliver the things in the way that you'd like them to be delivered will be delivering your service for you to such a high standard that your customers will remain happy. So 80% mindset. Communicate it to your customers in a way that makes you feel comfortable, and then just trial it, right? So just trial spending more time getting clear on the key results and the objectives, and less time actually standing over and watching your team, and let them make mistakes. If you're worried about passing stuff down to your team, it's because you think it's a deep-seated fear, and I know because I have it, and I've had to work on it a lot. It's because you think that if anything goes wrong, the whole world's going to collapse, all your business is going to fail, everybody's going to leave, all your customers are going to leave you. So that's not what's going to happen, right? And the only way you're going to find this out is by letting your team make mistakes. And the only way you're going to let them make mistakes is by you stepping away. So let them do it. Give them trust, empower them, give them objectives and key results, let them go away and make their own mistakes. And when they're struggling with things, don't let them just come to you all the time. Just tell them, I trust you. It doesn't matter. If you make the mistake, you make the mistake, but I reckon you'll learn from it. I know you'll learn from it. So waffling on a bit at the end there, I want to make this nice and concise. So if you want to get your team to run your business for you, that is more than possible. And if you're struggling in your business or you're feeling trapped by it, it's probably exactly what needs to happen. It's best thing for you, best thing for your business, best thing for your customers, best thing for your team. So you've got to make it happen. We've been through those 4 things that you can do to make that happen, to start making the shift happen. So number 1 is getting really clear on that vision again. So revisit why you started. Number 2 is putting a goal setting system in place that's trackable. I prefer OKRs, and I've seen that work really well across businesses and industries. Number 3 is systemizing a meeting pulse or a cadence commitment. So it's making it systemized and structured in the business when you meet, when the leadership team meets, when they meet with their teams, and making that a principle that's adhered to. And then number 4, empower and trust. So just let your team, especially the people in the senior positions, just let them get on with it, and try to work on not fearing the mistakes and the lack of perfectionism. I hope that has helped you get your mindset in the right place to actually give more power to your team so the business can grow without you and be less dependent on you. I went through burnout in my first business, and I know how our passion and our drive can lead to us actually feeling really tired and burnt out by businesses. And we don't want that to happen. That's a bad thing, right? And this happens throughout the country. So it's just due to human nature. So I don't want you to make the mistakes that I made. I believe that the world needs your talents. If you've started a business and you've got a team in place, you've got a very unique set of talents and drive, and the world wants more of that, and it needs it. The world needs businesses. The world needs innovative creators and entrepreneurs. And what the world doesn't need is innovative people like you who've got the drive and passion to make new things happen, getting burnt out by the businesses that you created that need you to be empowered and making a difference in the world. And if you're letting yourself get burnt out because you're staying stuck in this place, that's a travesty. It's a travesty for you, travesty for your team, because you'll be unhappy eventually, and your customers, the business and the world. So I want you to prosper. I believe that the world needs you, and your team needs you. And the only way that that's going to happen is if you're happy. You're happy in your life and you're happy with your business. So implement these steps. Don't make your business weigh down on your shoulders. Make it something that works for you. Be more sensibly selfish, and make sure that you're not being comfortably uncomfortable so that the business works for you. If you found this useful and you'd like to find out more information like this and keep up to date with mindset tips and tools, make sure to head to betterhappybusinessclub.com and subscribe to our free newsletter there. I'd love for you to inquire about joining the Better Happy Business Club, where we meet up quarterly on location, and we do stuff like this on a weekly basis and take you through the Better Happy Business Club Success Path process. But if you'd like to find out more about that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I don't know where the buttons are, so I just point around. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Head over and subscribe to the newsletter at betterhappybusinessclub.co.uk. I'd love to find out more about you and your business and make sure that your business is happy, you're happy, everything's better, and we're growing together.